like the next big thing, or what I think the next big thing is. When I was young, the big thing was the personal computer, and with internet, of course. And then after that, the next big thing was the social network. And I think what the next big thing will be is a political network. And I'm going to talk about why I think that is, and also what I mean by politics. So why do I think, so after personal, you get social, why do I think politics is next? Because sometimes you can tell what the next thing is by the way people use the old thing. Like with the personal computer and internet, people would use it for, even with Tim Berners-Lee with the first internet, they would use it for messaging. When I was young, we used it for chat to try and like talk to girls or see where girls were. And then with social networks, you could actually see if who you were talking to really was a girl. So you can sort of tell by the way people hack the old system what the next system might look like. So with social networks, people hack it to do politics. I mean, Facebook's not intended for political organizing. It's intended for sort of college networking. But people use it for pretty big political things. I mean, you can use it for, it was involved in, say, Egyptian Revolution. Here we use it like kick out Akon or other random things. But I mean, those are still political actions. Now, when I talked about a political network, Isura said, I mean, politics is like a bad word. So when I said that he thought, politicians, high level like bullshit, people talking about not much and not doing so much. But so I looked it up on Wikipedia, and politicos actually means of, for, or relating to citizens. So it's actually about citizens and their social relations and their relations to power. So I think the reason politics has gotten a bad word is because of, I think it's because of the technology, because we still use paper and we still have to trust someone. We have to trust some minister to go and do our business for us in Colombo or go and do our business for us somewhere else. And they're not very good at it. But that's a problem that technology can solve. I mean, at some point within our lifetimes, democracy is going to be dramatically changed, like the music industry has been changed, like publishing has been changed. I mean, technology is going to go and it's going to completely disrupt that technology. So, I mean, that's what politics means to me. I mean, politics is the ability to get like a decent road. It's the ability to have your kid go to a decent school or get your kid into school. It's the ability to get out of jail. It's like day-to-day things that affect you, affect your family, affect the people around you. So it's not necessarily like, Geneva or, high-level documents or whatever, but it's like, why are you messing with me? Stop messing with me. Or this is a good idea, let's do this. So my idea is that the next big thing will be the political network. And I think this is something that we can actually build in Sri Lanka. I think we have enough internet penetration, we have enough smart people on the ground, that that's something we can implement. And by the time it happens, the government won't know like what happened. Because governments are aware that like social media and citizens are important, but they're too big to actually change. They're trying to adapt. And at some point, your driver's license will be online, your NIC will be online, they will have that identity. But they're actually a bit too slow. So in the next, say, 10, 20 years, there's a window where citizens can actually create a political network that's inefficient and I think maybe a bit less unfair than the current system. So let's take an example. I mean, the way we would like to implement this is, well, let's take an example. Let's say Sarvodaya has something called the Deshodaya program, where they have kind of like a parallel electoral system. So they have councils in like, they've done Kilinochi, Bati, and then, yeah, how many? 17. So they have councils in these different cities, areas, and then there's a national council as well. So during the Colombo mayor's race, there was this idea to, I mean, my candidate lost, but there was this idea to have a ward system where within, like, say, like within each ward, you would have a meeting, and then those concerns would get escalated. So my proposal was that we put a young digitally trained person with a smartphone in each of those meetings. So when someone makes a decision saying like this sewage pipe keeps exploding, or like Mervyn Silva keeps showing up, you can like put that in the app, and then that gets escalated in a dashboard, so that there's some record of it. Because right now, if you go into a government office, or even if you go into these meetings, they talk about a lot of stuff, but what they produce is paper, and it goes to a certain person, and at the end of the day, the power actually flows in a completely different way.
My experience to connect with Indi is that I went to an interview in Sarvodaya. One of my friends said that, මේක තමයි උඹට හරියන ජොබ් එක කියලා ඵලයන් කියලා Sarvodayට. And then there was a panel of interviewers. It was about telecenters, the interviewers. So I have screened the internet and I have screened all the presentations and I was ready for telecenters. And there was this whole panel asking me questions and I shot back because I didn't want the job. Right? I wanted to just tell something that I thought about telecenters. And then I did not want, because it was kind of a heated argument, I went back to my boarding place. I was after my university. And then within 20 minutes, I got a phone call saying that I was picked for the job. Then I found out that Indi's father, Professor Indi Samarajiva, was one. At that time, I did not know him. And Dr. Ratna was also on board. The thing is that when you believe in something, that you have the power to change something, something happens. And because of that, it happens. There is a neighbor in my neighborhood. She is very poor in the sense of money, and she has gone to bank asking for a loan, 500,000, so that she can start her business. Her business is providing food for schools. There is a project for schools that you provide lunch for the kids, and she has picked that. But no bank is going to, fund them. Why? They are poor. So if somebody calls the bank and have a connection, we can get it. So that is kind of what Indi said, that unstructured politics that this society has, not only Sri Lanka, in every country. So in this situation, what I'm telling is that we all have the political power inside. The political power is the knowledge that we can use to make decisions that will change ourselves, our families, villages, the townships, and the countries. So that is politics to me. So sorry if I'm contradicting Indi. For me, politics is not about politicians, it's about the citizen power that we had. So this is what Sarvodaya has. This is what prompted me to go to Sarvodaya, because it starts with Paurushodaya. Paurushodaya is the empowerment of person, and then Kutumbodaya. Kutumbodaya is the family. Gramodaya, the awakening of the village. Nagarodaya is the awakening of town. Deshodaya is the awakening of the country, and then the Vishwodaya. So this has nothing to do with IT. This has nothing to do with anything that we have conventions, conceptions. It's about humans taking decisions for themselves. And by the way, you can question me as that when it happens on the spot, if you have any questions. So I want to make this as interactive as possible. So what they show there is, this is getting from Dr. A.T.R. Ratna, what he has written, which struck a chord in me. The wisdom, power, and economy. So wisdom comes from knowledge. Economy is the, money, simply put. The power is able to take a decision without putting the blame onto somebody else. So what we thought is, at Fusion, is we are a social enterprise. We thought because we are a social enterprise, we should start with economy. Because without economy, without having money, nobody can think of wisdom. Where's the time? Now, if you look at the current situation, a lot of people are running day to day just to make ends meet. Isn't that so? I may be wrong, is that so? Or? Yeah, so where is the time for us to think and reflect? There is none, because we are always on the competition. We don't want to share because we fear that if we share, that somebody else will steal my idea and ruin my life. Culturally, Sri Lanka is a very hospitable nation. But when it comes to sharing what you have, the knowledge, what I'm saying is the knowledge, nobody is going to share the knowledge. Refresh is different. The community here that's what I like. I refresh here because it's like computer. My mind gets refreshed every time I come here. So that is where the sharing comes up. But if you go to the neighborhood, do you know what happens in the neighborhood? That was the reality I faced, because I did not know what is happening in the neighborhood, but I knew what is happening in Geneva. Right? What is happening with Chamindra? I have never met him. Today I met him. And he has even volunteered for Fusion. Right? Other story is that, now this is not like random thing happening, the problem with Sri Lanka is that we don't have consistency on products. For example, if this village have coir products, the next month people would put some rubbish stuff to maximize the profit. Now here, what is interesting is that how to collect these 1 million pieces, that is an interesting story. Because seeds were there, this is not like, Fusion did something and voila, something happened. There's a huge story behind it. That's what we have to understand. So seeds have been doing this business incubation with these people, and there was this one lady, she was the aggregator, right? She was able to put these small producers like 100 pieces, 1,000 pieces, and now it comes to 1 million. Now this lady takes the responsibility for the Haleys to provide the 1 million pieces. So that is the leadership that happened in the villages. So that is the story. If you have any questions, just raise your hands, right? That's it? Okay. So, and what happens is that we have shown this to the other villages that we are doing, and there was this interesting blog came out yesterday from Iranamadu, right? And one of the EPOs in Puttalam has written this story, and it was wonderful written. I will share you the links. He said that, in fact, I have shared already on Twitter. There was this guy in Puttalam. His father tried to go into Singapore by wrong means, and he was sent back within 2 weeks. And because his father was not successful, mother tried, and she was sent back. Now 2 times, right? We would not go back. But the son tried, right? He tried 2 times, and all their fortunes have lost, right? And then this guy thought of, like, he could, do this idal. So he had this thing, and he wanted to learn it from someone. And in the village, he went to someone, and he started making idal hadana patangat. And then he saved 20,000 rupees. And now he has started his own thing. And those pictures are also on Facebook now. Right? So this is kind of simple things that we can do. It's not rocket science, very simple. We use Facebook every day. It's like, opening the tap and getting water for us. But funny thing is that we were doing a workshop in Kandy. One guy was telling, like, we were like, promoting social media, it's good for you, and internet. And he said, "Mahathya ma internet ගැන හොඳට දන්නවා. මම ඕක දැම්මහම මිනිස්සු බලනවා කියලාත් දන්නවා. නමුත් මේක දැම්මයින් පස්සේ මේකේ කවුරු හරි මට රිටර්න් කරයි කියලා කොහොමද ගැරන්ටි කරන්නේ?" That was the question he asked. And I said, yeah, we have to try, People would see. හරි හම්බෙනවා තමයි. නමුත් මහත්තයා මම මේකට ගියොත් විනාඩි 30ක් විතරයි. මට මහත්තයලා වගේ ඔය ටට්ටක් ගාලා කරන්න බෑනේ. විනාඩි 30ක් විතර ගියාම ඒ විනාඩි 30 පුළුවන් මට වෙන මගේ නිකන් කවුරු හරි හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. So if I do not do that, I won't be able to put bread and butter to my family. So that was a challenge he threw to us. So that's why I easily like what Indi said, like, if there was kind of a system that, everything can be connected in, maybe. So that kind of an idea for an app, I don't know. But in the meantime, we can all do our stuff. That's the presentation, and there's a video. Is there time? Nasli? 4 minutes. There's a video capturing that Kurumangala thing. Yeah.
and how to make the linkage between the good market, potential market, which can export to other countries as well. Today we are going to show you how this process was happened from beginning to end.
In early 2011, Sarvodaya Fusion had the idea of putting smartphones for village development. We tested several models. When Tag ID International came up to us and said, we can test Android, we said yes. The communities took into the technology better than we anticipated. There were three things that they wanted. One is education. Two is to enable the small and medium entrepreneurs. Three is to digitize the information about their communities, because they wanted to contribute to the internet rather than become mere consumers of it.
In our Smart Village project, we are getting about 25 Google Nexus 1 phones from Tag ID.
කලින් ගොවිතැන් කරේ ඊට පස්සේ මට වෙනවා මගේම කියලා ව්‍යාපාරයක් කරගෙන යන්න ඕන හරි කියන්නේ දුප්පත්ව ඉන්න ජනතාවට සේවයක් කරගෙන මමත් යම්කිසි දෙයක් කරගෙන යන්න ඕනේ කියලා හිතුණා ඊට පස්සේ තමයි මේ ගමන ආරම්භ කරේ කෝපුරුස කියන්නේ අපේ මේ පැත්තේ යපිරිකල දොරකාන්ති අකමිස් ඉන්නවා එයා මේක පිටවෙන ගොඩක් දුරට මේ පැත්තේ ව්‍යාප්තිය මේක තමයි තියෙන්නේ ගොඩක් දුරට
Now we have a good success story in Kurunagala. In future, we want to replicate these stories. Like for example, people in these villages have to share what they have done successfully. And we want more connection within the communities. Not only young, but also elders as well. To this end, we need applications developed in local languages, so that people can connect to it and better utilize the resource. So that is the vision that we have for this project right now.
Indi, I was interested that you used the word power for the dude with the phone, who would be that young enabled person, because I heard a quote somewhere which was power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. What you're suggesting sounds a little bit like a kind of localized Reddit where issues bubble naturally to the top of the list, which I think is great. I'm interested to know how you feel like an online version of politics might escape from the sort of entrapment of power and money, and like how that might work in a better way than happens in society.
I know, I think it's part of society, but it's a bit more transparent. Like, I honestly, I don't think we're ever going to fix Parliament. I think we should just make everybody members of Parliament. And, I don't think you're ever going to get less ministers. You just make everyone a minister. Like, if you have more people involved, then you have less concentration of power, less elites. I mean, if you just have more people who have a say maybe over their own lives, or, politics is it's a balancing act. So the more people who are involved, I think you get a better balance.
Indi, can you explain, can you tell a bit more about this app scenario that the planning thought?
Well, it doesn't exist as an app yet, but the idea is that they're having these councils already. And these councils make decisions and they talk about things already. So you combine the work that Fusion is doing with empowering young people and training them to use a smartphone. You simply embed them on that committee. Because these committees are generally older people, paper-based. So you keep that going, but there's just one person who's trained who's essentially taking notes and following up on community issues with that existing structure.
So what's the role in an app? Don't you think, I mean, is it not possible to do it like something like Twitter with a hashtag or something?
Yeah. I mean, the app would have to be like an aggregator of sorts, because there's so many different kinds of input you can get. You can get SMS, you can get Twitter, you can get Facebook. I mean, all that stuff needs to be incorporated. So it would have to be sort of like an aggregator to collect that information and make it processable at like a higher level, like Reddit, so that the stuff bubbles up. I mean, like with Kotu, we were able to figure out what issues were buzzing based on social buzz, like something similar. And it would also have to produce something that people who are used to paper and used to telephones can use to take decisions.
Isura, this is for you. I just want to say, first of all, I'm really impressed. I think it's fantastic, the work that you and your teams are doing. And I'm not as much as a techie geek or whatever. Geek is cool, by the way, obviously we all know that. I'm more in the kind of communications and PR side. And first of all, I have to say that you need to somehow, it doesn't have to be me, but anybody needs to talk about what you're doing more. And you need to use your platforms, because you're obviously very engaged with social media platforms and communication platforms, which is fantastic. And obviously you're talking to someone like Indi, which is even better. But I think it's really important you do that. I don't know if you have any plans for that, and whether there's any way that anyone in this room can help you. But also, your ability to empower is really incredible. Do you feel that once you leave the village, obviously your Seeds program isn't leaving the village, but how is your empowerment affecting change through the year? So if you go in for a month and you discover this person in Kurunangala, how are you kind of sustaining that empowerment throughout?
Can I know your name? Can I know your name?
It's Leah.
Leah.
Yeah.
You know, 2011 when we started out, Android phones were like about 45,000 rupees, that is $450, but now it's $100. So there is no problem of having phones into the society. You know, people would buy it at the end of the day. What we need now is to replicate leadership within the villages. We can't do it from Colombo. I mean, that has to be done. So what Udara does is to go around and mobilize people and show this, you know, showcases this. And then somebody would pick up. So we are very selective on people to select. They have to be non-political. Sorry. And they have to be tech savvy. Tech savvy in the sense like, you know, they have to be using social media, they should be into it. And third thing is that they should share. For example, there is one village that we have given into a society, and then there's a problem like a girl took the phone to a project that she's doing for A-levels to the school, and the society president was so upset. So now she has the phone locked in the center, like what Indi said, like, you know, it's so, but I think we should not divide the village on that level as well. Then we have another digital divide. So that is where we have to get the elders on board as well. And we have a promising project comes up within 2 months that we are trying to share the smart devices within the villages. Like for example, one family would have it for 3 weeks, and the next would have for next 3 weeks. Then you don't like, you know, have a status or privilege, like, you know. We don't want to have another digital divide, because this is a very powerful technology that we have for people, like, you know, it's a computer. So the empowerment comes from, you know, as you said, you know, the sharing the things, and then people talk about it, and then some, hopefully, I think, I mean, we are very optimistic, so there'll be more success stories to come up, and then people would realize that they can do it alone, and they can put the leadership into the next layer, and that is the vision we have. We don't feel like, you know, we want to scale it up for sure, but it has to sustain from the community itself. We don't want to control anything. We just, you know, try to do that. So that is why we are very selective on the persons we select.